I'm the executive director for CSI, and thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. It's hard to believe it, but it is August, and if it's August, that means we are starting to think about the school year, both on campus as well as elementary school, high school, junior high school, and others. So today the theme is back to school, and you will be hearing from two members of CSI who will be talking about school security in two different dimensions. You're going to be hearing from Seth Goodstein talking about school security for kind of day-to-day school issues, as well as Greg Popick talking about campus. And then also part of our agenda today, you'll be hearing from Jeremy Paulson, cyber issues that one should keep in mind, from David Pollock about what is the latest with the grant situation. And as just a reminder, while we're doing these trainings online, obviously our preference is to do them in person with you and your institution. So that is a request you can make through the CSI-NY.org website under services request. And that could be something like an active shooter type training in your location. That could be a cyber training, a cyber assessment, things along those lines. Our next regularly scheduled training will be Tuesday, September 2nd, as we prepare for the high holiday season. But I did want to mention that in the wake of the deadly attacks last Monday in New York at 345 Park Avenue, CSI is going to be holding a special webinar next Tuesday at 4 p.m. We'll have some members of our team, some new members of our team, Brad Orsini, who joined us from Pittsburgh and from the Secure Community Network, someone from the private sector, from T&M, and a member of law enforcement. And we're going to be looking at what happened at 345 Park. Are there lessons to be learned? And if so, what are they? And how can we implement them to keep our communities, buildings, places of worship, places of work safe? So with that, let me turn things over to and introduce Seth Goodstein. Seth is CSI's Queens County Regional Security Director. He's a retired lieutenant from the NYPD, and since his retirement before CSI, has held high-level security management positions at a number of different prominent hotels in Manhattan. And Seth is board certified in security management and physical security. He has both a CPP and a PSP from ACES International, Stop the Bleed instructor, and a former New York State emergency medical technician, and has a master's degree in criminal justice and a master's degree in public administration. So with that, let me turn things over to Seth.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So just a quick disclaimer before we start. This guidance is current as of today. It really doesn't replace any additional training you can get, say, from the police department. So what are we going to look at today? We're going to look at 5 things that we should be concerned with when we're looking to open up the schools this year and all the time throughout the year. Physical security, access control, plans, security officers, and training. These are some major areas. There are more, but this is what we're going to cover today. Some of the things we're going to talk about are things that would be longer term upgrades, while many can be implemented more immediately. So physical security. When we're looking at our doors, are our doors locked? Are our doors resistant to forced entry? If we have glass on the doors, is the glass protected? Protected from forced entry, from someone breaking through easily, reaching in, turning a handle on the inside? Do we have high security locks on these doors? Do we have multiple points of latching, of locking for these doors that we have? And we're talking about our external perimeter doors. Are our windows resistant to forced entry? Are our windows resistant to blast from an explosion? Fencing, do you have any fencing? Do we have gates that are also locked and secure, whether for pedestrians or vehicles accessing our property? What's the height of the fencing? If it's something that's 4 foot high, is it really doing anything for your facility in order to protect the institution? Access control. How do you control access to the building? How do you control access during recess? Screening by personnel. When you have these doors open, there are certain times where you might have children and faculty going in and out of the facility. How do you control that at that time? Do you have secure rooms and spaces that are hardened? We can call those safe haven spaces, where we can go to in the event that someone breaches an exterior door and we need to go to a place to await the response of law enforcement to make sure that we're limiting the availability of targets for an individual that's looking to come into the facility and hurt people. Are there locking mechanisms, secondary locking mechanisms on that door for a manual lockdown for classrooms and offices? Are they fire code and classroom approved locking devices? And we look at cameras. Are your cameras monitored? How many days of playback do you have on those cameras if you need to look at an incident that occurred? Can you get back only for a couple of days, or do they go back to the recommended time frame of at least 30 days playback? Are there analytics with your cameras? Do you have the ability to have motion monitoring on the cameras? Are your cameras integrated into your alarm system and your access control system? If a door is left ajar, someone goes out in a jar, will the camera, after a certain period of time, go to that location to be able to see what is left open? Same thing with your alarm system. Does it alert you? We often call this a day alarm. Does it alert you that a door is open so you can address it and make sure you're still maintaining a secure environment? Electronic access control. Do you have electronic access control? How do you control the access? Who has a fob? Who has metal hard keys, and so on? A lot of these are software driven when you can exclude people. Do you restrict times? Do you restrict days? Do you give out key fobs for an individual or a person that's faculty? Can they get in at 3 a.m. when they really don't need to get in at 3 a.m? Do they need to have access everywhere within the building? And once again, and we'll mention this a lot, are there secondary manual locks that are fire code, classroom approved for your school to be able to lock down further if you needed to in an emergency? We talk about secondary locks and whether they're fire department, building code, school approved locks. And I want to show you a few examples of secondary locks on doors. And the reason I'm showing you these secondary locks on the doors is these are locks that shouldn't be used. These are manual locking that does not conform to fire and classroom building codes. Remember, we never want to give up fire safety for security. We want to make sure we accomplish both. And you can do so with the proper locking mechanisms. When you're talking about egress doors, you shouldn't have multiple ways to get out of a door. It's one motion egress to get out of a door. So we can accomplish that. And then we also look at, can these devices, and yes, they're not approved, but could they even be really realistically used in an emergency? Is someone going to maintain those fine motor skills to get the device out, remember how to use it? Are we being trained with it, and so on? That's why you see all these slashes through these, because we do not recommend these locks. So plans, do you have any? What do they cover, and does your staff know about the plans? Your detailed plans with full descriptions and details should be available for key personnel. However, a more concise plan should be made available for other personnel to review, train on, and practice. While your school should have a plan for all hazards, start small, start with the issues that are more likely to occur, and then you can expand from there. It'll be a process that could take some time to get everything in place. Your plan should be updated at least yearly and as situations change. Security officers, do you have any? Are they armed? Are they unarmed? Do they have post orders? What is their supervision? Do your guards know what to do if a visitor requests entry? Do they have lists available for them of guests, vendors, contractors on a daily basis? Someone shows up and they do have an appointment, do they have that information? And then if they don't, what steps are they supposed to take in order to ensure that only an authorized individual is coming into your location? Who do they contact during the shift? Who are their points? And you should probably have multiple points of contact that the person gets in touch with during the day at the facility when one of these questions arise or something else occurs. Are they using radios? Do key personnel other than the security officers have those radios to communicate? If something happens at one of your doors or outside of your perimeter, how does that guard get information back to key personnel within your facility to take the steps necessary to protect the facility if something is occurring? Who supervises the guards throughout the day? That should be someone on site, and most likely would be a member of staff that's charged with overseeing the security, not a security supervisor from the guard company that's off-site somewhere. While they could be consulted for personnel issues and things such as that, you really need to have someone that's going to be overseeing the guards on a daily basis. Who covers the guards when they're on a meal or a break? Is it another faculty member? Does no one cover the guard? Is it another guard? How is this being handled on a daily basis to make sure you're constantly having that coverage and you're reducing any gaps? So training. So a lockout and a lockdown are both security measures, but they address different situations. A lockout is used when a potential threat is outside the school building, while a lockdown is used when the threat is inside or very close to the building. In a lockout, exterior doors are secured and students and staff remain inside, but normal activities may continue. In a lockdown, students are moved to a secure location, often classrooms, lights off, doors locked, and all indoor activities cease. How often do you conduct drills, of lockdown and lockout? Do you include all personnel in your drill? So it's not just the teachers, it's custodial staff, it's security staff, so everybody knows what's going to occur and how to do it. Have you ever invited the police department to come and observe, the local police precinct to observe any of your drills? Be great to have them there for observation and input afterwards. In addition, invite your CSI regional security director to come and observe. Often we can make observations and be able to convey some tips and advice afterwards to hopefully make the drill more efficient. So Mitch mentioned before, we're doing a webinar here, but we do this training individually as well. We do training such as active threat training, stop the bleed training. We do de-escalation training, daily procedures for best practices, for daily operations. These are trainings that your CSI regional security director can coordinate with you. And I encourage you to reach out to your regional security director to arrange for some of these trainings in person at your location. And one of the things that we often mention, every service that we provide from CSI is at no charge. So some of the failures that we often see in the field, hardened doors that are propped open. I've been to locations that have beautiful bullet resistant doors, level 4 doors. It's going to potentially stop those a bullet or someone breaking through for forced entry, but it's propped open. Those doors that you spent a fortune to install are pretty much useless at that point. Are the doors secured? Open to screen unknown people. If you have a secure door, do we open it and prop it open to ask someone if they can be of assistance to them or if they're authorized? Or are we using technology together with that door to make sure that we're not breaching our own security and giving an opportunity for someone to come into the facility unnecessarily? Glass. Is your glass protected, whether it's security laminated glass or has film been applied? Is film, security laminated film has been applied, has it been anchored to the frame of the window? Has it been anchored to the frame of the door, that glass that appears on the door? Many times we've been to locations and the institution didn't know, but the film is applied, it's not anchored, it's not going to protect the facility. Bypassing good measures that you have. Access control, but someone's putting tape over the latch. So you have beautiful electronic access control, the door latches, we have the ability to use a key fob, but someone either forgets their fob, they're going out for a moment, or they want to leave it open, they go out to the playground, and they put tape, for instance, over a latch. Your cameras, is anybody monitoring your cameras? Can you even log into the system anymore if you needed to go and look for playback? We talked about analytics. We talked about motion sensing, where you could have key locations and key functionality on your cameras. Even if you don't have someone monitoring them all the time, you have the ability to use them more effectively. At least key locations within your building have those key views all the time, so you can see what's going on, not only inside, but outside in the perimeter of your facility. All the security hardware, new doors, new windows, beautiful electronic access control. We're creating safe spaces within our facility as safe havens in case someone gets in, to secure, but we don't have plans or procedures. No one knows what to do. We haven't practiced with it. We need to make sure we look to start correcting that. So some of the things, I just want to show you a few pictures. This is glass. This was from an incident that appeared on the news of an attacker that went into a school. The glass here is regular commercial grade glass. This person actually shot through the glass. It fell into a million pieces and they were able to walk into the facility. Something like this with window film, for instance, or security laminated glass, those upgrades could make it much more difficult for someone to get through as easy as you see they were able to get in now. Opening the door to greet someone, rather than using either technology or the door itself to speak to the individual, a video intercom and so on. You open the door, If that person's an attacker, they could just force their way in at that point. You know, we saw this in Colleyville when the rabbi in Colleyville, Texas, with that hostage taking, person came to the door, he opened the door and he let the individual in. Nice bullet resistant glass, bullet resistant doors, and the door is propped open. Our camera system, nobody's there to monitor it. And we mentioned taping over the latches. You're installing all these upgrades only to bypass them with these types of measures. We could email this to everybody, but just to give everybody the contact for their regional security director, I'll give you another email to make it a little easier for you than to try to find yours and write it down now. If you email CSI_questions at CSI-NY.org, you could email, we'll get back to you, we'll connect you with your regional security director, and we'll look to either the training, assessments, any of the services that we provide. We stand by and ready to assist you. With that, I am going to turn it back over to Mitch.
Yep. Great. Thanks so much, Seth. I think that really provided a good opportunity to really start thinking about those physical security enhancements and measures that we need to make automatic at our institutions to keep them safe, whether they're a shul, school, JCC, so on and so forth, but specifically for schools. We've seen the situations where the doors have been propped open, and that ended up being a way for people to breach what otherwise would have been a good security procedures that controlled access control. So something to keep in mind. And again, in-person training is the best to have a CSI regional security director come and walk through your location. So really can't emphasize that enough. But let me pivot now. We're probably a couple weeks away before students start to head back to college campuses. And while there's been some diminution of violent acts against Jewish students on campus, as long as the war continues, we do expect to see protest activity, anti-Semitic activity to continue on campuses this fall semester. So Greg Popick at CSI serves as our campus security director. And he's going to tell you all about our program, which is now just about 1 year old. And he has leveraged his experience as a veteran law enforcement professional, as a 21-year veteran of the NYPD. We work closely together. He was a detective in the intelligence division, focused on some of our most sensitive cases, and worked on global terrorism networks, including Hezbollah and Hamas, as well as homegrown terrorism investigations. But now he is our primary liaison, working with local law enforcement, campus security, Jewish organizations, Hillel, Chabad, Israel on Campus Coalition, Jewish fraternities and sororities on more than 27 campuses. And Greg is really working on fostering a secure environment for our students while they are on campus during the school year. So with that, let me turn things over to Greg.
Thank you, Mitch. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So Mitch just said the campus security program is just about a week past its 1 year anniversary. And like Mitch mentioned, the campus security director, that is me, obviously. I have a law enforcement connectivity, the liaison for all Jewish life on the college campuses that we're involved with, to coordinate and security with local law enforcement, public safety professionals on campus, and local law enforcement officers in the area. My goal is to liaison with Hillel's, Chabad's, any Jewish life to make sure that their security is apt, it's in place. If they have any questions, any concerns, they know they can lean on me to go directly back to campus public safety and local law enforcement if we feel that there's a need for additional security on any of the events that they might be having on and or off campus. Could be a 10/7 vigil, high holiday event, high holidays, or any other kind of Jewish event on and off campus. Most of you, I think, know that we have an Intel desk dedicated to CSI. I'm fortunate enough to have an Intel analyst dedicated just to college campuses. They oversee social media accounts on campus, see if there are any anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, anti-Jewish life protests that are going to be on or off surrounding campus, notify me, and then in turn I can notify the college safety professionals, local law enforcement, to ensure that the Jewish kids are safe at any event that they might be having. And obviously, we are partnered on this program with CSS, Community Security Services. They offer training as well, and primarily to Krav and Kesher on campus. Quick overview of the last year. Myself, I've had over 220 in-person or virtual meetings with my college campuses. Right now, we're north of 27 campuses we're involved with directly. We've alerted through the Intel desk 220 anti-Israel events and warnings. We monitor events on and off campus. If a Hillel is having a formal, we'll plug that into our Intel desk, and they'll monitor for any kind of negative activity on social media activity online. And we've provided and assisted with enhanced security at 62 additional events. Those would include an IDF soldier coming to campus to speak to students, political leaders coming onto campus, any kind of event that we felt that needed any kind of additional security. I worked directly with the campus police to ensure that the event would go off safely. Here's a quick overview of how the CSI Intel desk works directly with me. So the Intel desk will get that information, they'll feed it to me, and in turn I'll provide that over to campus security professionals and the Hillels, Chabads. If there's going to be an event in a quad, I'll let the Hillels know, the Chabads know, just so that they can pass that information along to their students to keep an eye out. There might be a protest on campus, to avoid it, just to be safe and vigilant on campus. Here's an example of how the Intel desk monitoring works. This was an October 7th event last year that was happening on Columbia University. They were issuing guest passes to students off campus. Our Intel desk picked up that some nefarious individuals were obtaining the guest passes and wanted to disrupt the event that was happening on campus. We notified campus public safety. At that time, they determined it was the opportunity to not shut down the event, but to cancel all guest passes, close the campus down to only students that were allowed on campus with proper identification. This is currently the most of the campuses that we cover on the left-hand side of the UJA catchment area, and on the right, what we call the Amtrak corridor. The campuses go from DC all the way up the Amtrak corridor up to Boston. You can see we have down in DC, Georgetown, George Washington, up in Boston, MIT, and Tufts. So getting back to my statement earlier, the only way to prevent an incident is to not have an event. That's not an option. I'm not looking to have any of the students have any of their events shut down because of a planned protest or anything on campus that might deter Jewish life from going on those campuses. And this goes back to this slide where we were able to pick this up and not shut down the event, but make sure that the proper security was in place and the event went off without any issues. So why security matters this semester? Obviously, we all know anti-Semitic incidents have sharply increased on all the campuses, most of them, if not all of them. Jewish students are often targeted for their identity, Jewish life to support Hillel, Chabads, AE Phi. We want students to be being proud Jews and feel safe on campus. They deserve to feel safe and supported. And obviously, feeling unsafe to any of the students on those campuses could have mental health issues, academic performance, and overall campus experience. If we have college-age students, just want them to get through college, having a good time, good 4 years, and not have to be deterred by any of these protests that are going on campus. Use this as an overview, guideline of what we have going on campuses. Obviously, use best practices that are on your surrounding areas. You know your campus, your students know their campus better than anyone. But again, I'm here to be leaned on if they have any questions or concerns. Security planning helps to prevent disruptions during high-risk events. That's where we would come in and we can talk to the Chabad rabbi, the Hillel director, say, maybe we should add maybe not one guard, but maybe 2 guards. Let's try and get some local law enforcement involved just to patrol the area. Being prepared builds confidence and strengthens Jewish pride. The students, if they're involved directly with the planning and the preparedness, they feel more emboldened to have that event, knowing that they're protected, knowing that they have a campus security director being involved, helping them behind the scenes. And obviously, physical security reassures the participants and deters potential threats before they arise. Personal awareness. I don't know if there are any students on this, or if you have Any students going off the campus, stay alert of your surroundings. If something feels off, report it. Trust your instincts. Generally, people know if something's not right. Get that feeling inside your gut. Report it. Don't just let it go untold. Avoid public confrontations. Disengage and report to college campus professionals. Always walk in groups or campus escort services. Know the safest campus routes and avoid dark areas. We in the past provided escort services from the Chabad back onto campus to the Hillels. So if some of your students are concerned about walking across campus, let the security know on campus. If they're having issues with having security get involved, let me know. I'll call the campus security directly. So any in-person or social events, if you're advertising online, if you're having a vigil, like I said, or something for the high holidays, use .edu emails for RSVP so that you know it's a student responding or faculty or someone staff on that campus. When possible, don't publicly post event locations. Pre-registered guests, assign greeters at the door so that they know who's coming in. And if someone's not welcome, just politely ask them to leave. Provide wristbands if you can, and also consider having a no bag policy or clear bag policy in place for any of those events on and off campus. Register to large public events with university security. Coordinate with health director and Chabad rabbis. Coordinate with me, CSI, or any of the regional security directors. The regional security directors down here, downstate and upstate, if they're one of those campuses are involved, reach out to me or your regional security director, and we'll make sure that the proper security is in place. Have updated emergency contacts readily available, and don't hesitate to call. If there's an issue, please call or email me. Keeping your digital safe space, use two-step authentication, be careful with group chats. Some of the group chats, unfortunately, going back to the anti-Semitic events, the group chats on college campuses, some of the students have experienced these study groups. And what's happened, unfortunately, in the past, and I don't know if you've heard of this or have not heard of it, but it's underlying, I guess, level of anti-Semitism where some of the students have been kicked off of study group chats due to being doxxed, being outed as being Jewish. If something like that happens, obviously report it to your campus professionals, your professor. Let me know, and we'll get it to the right people. Report doxing, avoid clicking on suspicious links. Just simple, basic digital safe so you don't get hacked or doxed. Strength through community. Attend a host of safety training with CSI. Seth mentioned CSS, some of the Krav Maga classes. Support your friends. Check up on each other. Speak up. Don't stand alone. Know who has your back. We all on this call have each other's back. Resilience is Jewish. We face these challenges together. Fortunate enough to have this position as the campus security director. And it's been very rewarding working with all the students and campus professionals, knowing that we're doing our little part to keep the kids safe on campus during the school year. And final thoughts, prior to safety strategy mentioned, are meant to protect the community and strengthen resilience. Don't navigate it alone. We're here, we're resources, lean on us. Be visible, be smart. Let's ensure Jewish life on campus remains strong and safe and protected. Resources and emergency contacts, campus security, local law enforcement, CSI, Hillel Chabad, the Bond app. We here at CSI, we offer the Bond app on the college campuses. If you want more information about the Bond app, it's a personal security app where students can download, and it's kind of like a safety security officer they have in their back pocket. If they're walking across campus, and if they feel something's not right, usually they can't call. It's not brings you to the level of 911, but you want to have a security person, professional alongside of you. The Bond app takes that place, and it can geocode where that student is. We can talk more about that if you're interested after today's webinar. And if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me, the regional security directors, anybody at CSI, and they can get in touch with me.
All right. Thank you, Greg. Much appreciated. Now we're going to pivot from campus to the topic of cybersecurity. And for that, we will have our Director of Cybersecurity, Jeremy Paulson. And Jeremy is a cybersecurity expert and specialist in risk and policy management. Jeremy has worked both as a consultant to government and private industry, focusing on risk assessment and software development for the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, and Congress. He's also co-written papers delivered to Congress on software development. And in 2021, he founded a cybersecurity program at CSI, where he has created a program that includes assessments, conducted training, and produces a regular newsletter. So with that, Jeremy, let me turn things over to you.
Thank you for coming. Cybersecurity is a topic that either mystifies people or frightens them. You cannot go through a day without hearing of some major breach or phishing attempt or something. And this is particularly relevant for schools. The cybersecurity threat to Jewish organizations is real. We have had incidents within the last couple of years of website defacement, where someone has gotten into the website code of a Jewish synagogue and they have plastered on it Free Palestine. We have seen incidents quite recently, as a matter of fact, of employee impersonation, where someone impersonates an employee, attempts to redirect funds or payroll. We've seen any number of phishing attacks, and we have seen ransomware, and extortion, in which critical data has been extracted and where the computer operations of a given school was shut down completely to the point where they literally almost could not make payroll. The idea of extortion on this is also critical for those of you who deal in HIPAA issues with your operations. It is simply something that it will, if you have a breach, you are vulnerable to HIPAA fines. Data is precious. Consider the consequences of data loss or exposure. Some organizations have literally been shut down because they were hit with ransomware. Consider the consequences of donor and membership lists enabling terrorist targeting. Consider the fact that you are in some cases handling credit card information. Consider the fact that you are also, in some organizations, required to be HIPAA compliant. Now, our program is designed around helping you stiffen your cybersecurity profile. It starts with assessments. We identify your vulnerabilities. We make recommendations for how you can increase your durability to cybersecurity events. We provide training in form of webinars, video training, and phishing simulations to any organization that asks for it. We have produced a monthly newsletter where we describe, frankly, cybersecurity concepts in easy to understand language. We can provide purchasing guidance. We can help you with internet use and disaster recovery policy. All this is on our website. And we can provide you with cybersecurity consulting, whether it's in the form of disaster management or it's in the form of, is this acquisition a good idea? That is why we're here. Now, things you've really got to focus on going into the new school year. Authentication. Authentication is, how do you know who to let in? You've got a network. You've got to let people in. Is it the right person? And the current NIST guidelines is a minimum of 8 characters. Longer is better, and it has to be complex. And by that, I mean use the entire keyboard. Numbers, letters, uppercase, lowercase, and symbols. Multi-factor authentication is now an absolute must, because the guys who do the phishing and get the credentials, an ID and password is simply not enough anymore. You need multi-factor authentication, and that's the thing where they usually, you tie into something and they say, oh, we're going to send you a 6-number or character one-time password, which you then have to re-enter into the site so that you have access. Use it. Another vital element, data segmentation and classification. Only allow people access to the data they must have and nothing more. They should never, you don't want your students having access to editing their grades. You don't want to have anybody having access to your financial records or any of the other things. Next critical item, immutable daily backups. And an immutable backup is one where once it is recorded, it cannot be altered. There's a lot of backup systems out there, but only some of them do immutable backups, and you should do them daily. I have seen a situation where the last viable backup for one school was 6 months prior. That is simply intolerable. Do it daily. Ideally, one backup on site, one backup off site. Endpoint protection. Used to call it antivirus. Antivirus doesn't encapsulate what it does in it. Endpoint protection guards against malware. It does it through certain various technical methods, largely involving observing behavior of programs within your networks. If it looks like it's doing something bad, it'll shut it down. And finally, training. 70% of all data loss is caused by human error. And the only real way we have of limiting that error is through engaging in cybersecurity training and practices so that your people, your general staff, understand not to do things that will then open the larger network up to infiltration and data loss. So there it is. This is, of course, merely a leading edge on a much deeper topic. And I encourage all of you, if you have any questions regarding cybersecurity, I am here to help you.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeremy. And again, another resource here at CSI, we encourage you to tap. Jeremy is available to discuss the particulars of your institution, what software you're running, what all the network issues. Please reach out again through a services request on the CSI-NY website. And that's just the mechanism with which we can capture your request, and then that'll trigger Jeremy to reach out to you. So as we're coming to the end of our hour, wanted to make sure that founding chair and senior advisor to CSI, David Pollack, had some time to walk those who will be pursuing the NSGP grants. What is the latest with that? Because it's gone quite a circular route this year. So with that, let me turn things over to David for a few minutes on the grants.
Thanks, Mitch. With your permission, I'll take an exception to your circular route message. I think it's more dizzying than circular. And we're all kind of dizzy from all the changes. And, as any of you who have been around for a while know, this is usually a spring grant. And it's now past spring. The Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, released what they call a NOFO, a Notice of Funding Opportunity. It basically confused everyone because it said there's an August 11th date. I'm here to tell everyone August 11th, they should stand. 11th is the deadline for 50 states and 6 territories to submit a specific application to FEMA. What FEMA has done is allocated around $35 million for New York State and another $4 million for Connecticut, approximately, give or take. The exact numbers are on our website. And the states and territories will have to apply for those grants, and they will be awarded, and they will turn around and issue what in New York is called a request for applications sometime near October. By the way, that can change. Things have changed quicker around here on other aspects of the grant, but that's what we know right now. So what do we expect? Number one, the Congress allocated approximately 40% less for the grants than last year. Therefore, the grants will be more competitive. The turnaround period could be very, very quick. So what we're advising people in New York to do is, number one, check whether they are pre-qualified. Their pre-qualification is still up to date. Remember, if you pre-qualified for the grant last year, because of the date change, you probably, your pre-qualification will probably have expired, and you're going to have to update some documents. There are instructions on how to check your date on our website. We also advise you to download the 2024 investment justification. It has changed very little, and fill it out and be prepared so you can just cut and paste from the 2024 into the 2025 template. So if there are only 7 days available to submit your grant, you will be able to do so. So get everything ready, get all your ducks in a row, and go ahead. Finally, our website is at www.csiny.org/security grants. And all of this information is there. And one other question has come up. People are worried that this year there are restrictions on DEI and immigration. We will put the exact language on our website, but in my opinion, this might affect one or two organizations. You won't be allowed to incentivize illegal immigration. I don't know if anyone on this webinar incentivizes illegal immigration. If that is part of your mission, then you probably will not get a grant. If you boycott Israel or Israeli products, you won't get a grant. Those are the kinds of things that are involved. It ends up much ado about nothing, but there have been a lot of people spreading bad information. So if there are any questions, we'll come by and answer them. Mitch?
Great. Thank you, David. I think now we are turning to Q&A with our last 10 minutes or so. So let's see. I'm just cruising there. Bill, I know you've been collecting them, which
Yep.
but some have been answered in the chat.
So the first one is for David. Can you give us an update on the 2024 NSS supplemental grant?
No, the problem is that there was a rumor that there would be information on the 2024 NSS grant that would come out last Friday. It's now Tuesday, and it didn't come out. And I was talking to Eric Abramson, who is the director of grants for New York State, and his answer was, I don't believe any rumors anymore. So it will come out. I think that they will be smart enough to put out the results of the NSS before the NSGP 2025 application comes out. At least I'm hoping they will. And we'll take it from there.
Thanks, David. And the next one's for Jeremy. Can you define for the audience what doxing is and what phishing is?
Certainly. Doxing is the collection of information on the individual with the intent to harass them. Phishing is a process by which, through emails or some other electronic communication, someone attempts to get your credentials in order to sign in on something. For instance, it could be your bank accounts. It could be where the computer networks that you work from. That is the purpose of phishing. The phishing is the first point at which they gain entry, whereas doxing is all about harassing other people.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it. The next couple, over to you, Seth, particularly about secondary locking devices on classrooms. What types of devices are recommended, and where could somebody go to get more resources on what products are out there and what vendors would install these products?
Thanks, Bill. So while we can't really recommend, as many of you on the call know, individual vendors when we don't have the capacity to do that. However, there are many different vendors that make classroom and fire code approved locking devices for your doors. So essentially, for instance, there's devices that work with a lever lock in which there's a latch. And typically your door would, on a daily basis, be locking with the latch. However, there's a red button on this device in which you push the button and it drops a deadbolt. That deadbolt gives a secondary lock onto the door in addition to the latching device. Now, to get out, in order to release both the latch as well as the deadbolt, you depress the lever down and it opens up both of them at the same time. As long as you have one motion to get out of a fire door, you're going to be keeping with fire code. If you have to first, for instance, if you had a deadbolt with a thumb throw, which many of us have on our homes, and you have a key and knob latch below it, if you have to first unlatch the lever and the key and knob latch and then separately turn the thumb throw, that's not going to be good for a classroom. It's not going to be good for emergency egress. It has to be one motion to get out. Much like an emergency egress door where you have a crash bar. You could have multiple latching on a door with a crash bar that latches at the top and the bottom, for instance. But when you press that crash bar in the center of the door, it's releasing both latches at the same time. Therefore, you're having one motion to get out the door. So we recommend it's an ANSI grade 1 rated locking device, which you could ask the vendor to provide documentation that it meets those requirements, and one motion to get out. When you start looking at those devices that I showed where you have to take something off a wall, put it into the floor, other than the fact that it's an issue with fire code and it's going to potentially prevent someone getting out in another type of emergency, it might not be able to be used. What if there's dirt inside that floor latching system where you would put the bolt into if you can't get it in right away? Remember, people's adrenaline is going to be flowing very high. The heart rates are going to be super fast. As people get to those different types of situations, they start losing their fine motor skills to be able to do these things. We want to make it as easy as possible to do it. The reality is this: we say, God forbid, for all these things, there's more chance of a fire at your institution than there is of an active shooter. We never want to give up fire safety for security, but we can accomplish both, and we can accomplish both effectively. So I encourage you, you can speak to your regional security director. They can dive into it a little bit deeper with you as well. But that should give you really a broad overview of what you're looking at. But many different devices out there. Some are very good, others that aren't. But we want to make sure one motion egress.
Thanks, Seth. And then the last one I have probably for you again, and you've already answered it. The question is how exterior doors can have multiple points of latching and still be safe and not a fire hazard. And you covered that with the single release. As long as the single action releases all locking points or all latching points, then it's going to be within code and it's going to be safe, correct?
Yeah, and that's absolutely right, Bill. So, and we recommend that. We recommend generally we'd like to see multiple latching points to be able to protect the door better, but you could do that within fire code, one motion to get out on that egress door without jeopardizing anybody in any other type of emergency.
Great. Thanks, Seth. And thanks everybody for your questions.
Great. Well, if that is all we've got for questions, then we're going to wrap things up right now. And just 2 reminders, we will send out an invitation for next Tuesday at 4 p.m. To talk about lessons learned, webinar about 345 Park Avenue. And then in a couple weeks, we will have it September 2nd in the afternoon, I believe 3 o'clock, preparation for high holidays. So again, thanks for all of you for attending. Thank you to the great CSI team today, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.